And oops, the whole thing's all out of whack. Goodness, we've got loads of people here already.
We do.
Are we live? I'm assuming that we're live. I'm going to assume that we are live, so good morning, everybody. It's hard to see on this thing whether we're live or whether we're not live. Of course, it would help if I wasn't as blind as Bat. I might be able to see better. Good morning, good morning, good morning. So the first thing I'd like to say is good morning to my spirit guide, Grey Eagle, who is standing to my right side here as always. I'm looking for the puppies in the corner. And of course, remotely, good morning, Michelle.
Good morning. I thought I had muted you because I have like 12 things going on.
All right. Right. So, all right. So, we are ready and raring. Well, I am ready and raring to go. Are you, Michelle?
I'm always ready.
Are you ready and raring to go? I've just been talking to a friend of mine, my friend in England, Kay, who is illustrating, doing the illustrations for my children's books, and so we have to get down and start to do that at some point because I want to get the first book going, Michelle. So you and I have got some work to do on that. And anyone who's interested in silly children's stories, maybe one day I'll even read one to you all. You'd like that, I think. The first one it's going to be the Once Upon a Time series, because I do believe that all good stories must begin with Once Upon a Time and they must end with the end. So this is what I'm working on, and the first one is going to be Once Upon a Lonely Mouse. Oh, it's such a cute story. I wrote it in the middle of the night when I couldn't sleep, and then I went back to it and wrote a bit more of it, and haven't had to do a lot of work to it because these little things do come quite easily into my brain. I must have one of those minds that likes the nonsense stuff. Enough of that. So we'll be talking about that. Before you know it, we'll be saying Christmas, woohoo, children's books. Right, Michelle, do we have anybody there? Is there anybody there?
We have 12 or 13 people on.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. All right, do we have any questions or comments going on right now?
Not yet.
Not yet, not yet. Are they all waiting for me to talk about something intriguing and spooky and all of that stuff? I think that
they were just letting you talk.
Oh right, well I like that. But you know, we like participation, so you now need to get going and get typing or whatever it is you do on in the chat room. You know, it's so easy for me sitting here in my, I have a very cozy, comfortable home. I have a nice pool to sit out at. I can chill out. I can, do whatever it is I want to do. We love living in Florida, don't we, Michelle? Michelle, you like it too, right?
I love it.
And the sun is shining. And then my grandson called me last night. He said, Mosey, it's been raining all day. It's been raining, raining, raining all day. So it's so funny because there's a series of books, children's books, that I read. Yes, can you imagine? We're going back at least 100 years to when I was a little girl. And I used to read, there was an author who wrote children's books, very, very famous in England. Her name is Enid Blyton. I'm sure she's long since popped to clogs, but she wrote all of the Noddy books, which for the younger children. And honestly, if you want to, and you can actually find them recreated on YouTube as well. Not as good as the books in my opinion, but still. So when my daughter was growing up, she was a little girl, she read all the Noddy books naturally. And then when I was about, I don't know, 6 or 7 or something, I got very intrigued with a series of books that she wrote called The Famous Five. and it's an adventure story, and that she's written, I don't know, at least 20 something books. So I decided that as when Reese came into this world, and he loves books and he loves reading, so I got friends and family and everybody I could think of. My sister was very instrumental in finding these books for me, and they're not so easy to find, but I've got the whole series of Noddy, and I've now got the whole series of the Famous Five. And my grandson is really getting into it, and when he's at school and he has to read a book, then he has to, part of the reading process, he has to then describe the book and talk about what happens in the book to people. So he's using me as the person he's describing the books to. And my daughter had one of those deja vu moments last night when he was describing the book. She said, "It's so funny, Mum, I'm reading the books with him," and she said, "I'm having these flashbacks of memory," because she read them at the same age, 7 years old, 8 years old. She got into the Famous Five as well. And it's so funny that we can sort of take something that I loved and I enjoyed when I was a child. I mean, we're going back an awfully long time. And these books, this is the mark of I think, of a great author. These books, you can read them today, and they're just as relevant, and they're just as exciting, they're just as interesting as they were hundreds of years ago. Maybe 80 years, not that I'm 80, but maybe 80 years ago or something, when she first started writing them. And it's amazing, you know, when we sort of writing, and of course I've just told you that I'm writing children's books, and I actually I don't consider myself a writer, I consider myself a storyteller, but I'm not expecting that my books are going to survive for 80 years. It's a little bit like what is the Rabbit series that a film just came out recently, Michelle? What is that series? Anyway, not that it matters, I can't. But it's amazing when, you know, sort of you can span the generations with things like books, with things like even with movies sometimes, and you can span the generations. And when I look at, there are 3 generations of my family who are reading Noddy and the Famous Five and the Wishing Chair and the Faraway Tree is another one. I bought all of those series for Reese, and they are just as magical as they were all those years ago when I was a little girl and when I read them. And then I started thinking, you know, my book, The Eagle and the Rose, it makes me sound so old, but it was published in 1996, so that's whatever that is, 24 years old. It was published on May 19th, which is my birthday, 24 years ago. And you can still buy it in the bookstores, and people still read it. And we get emails all the time, "I've read your book," as if I've only written the one book. But when they say I've read your book, I know which one they mean. Usually it's that one, because that one really does have probably the most impact. And I think to myself, wow, how to 24 years, it's almost next year, it's a quarter of a century that book has been out. It's being sold, it's being read, it's being people are, even 25 years of reading, almost 25 years of reading this book, people are still finding revelations in the book. You know, they're learning things that you would have thought after all these years people would know, we would know these things, but no, people are still being inspired, and I feel so blessed and so humbled that people want to read after all these years. They want to read something that I wrote actually wrote it, if you really want me to be honest, I probably wrote it about 27 or 28 years ago, because, you know, it was published in 1996, but I'd already written it, and then I'd gone over it, and then I'd looked at it again, and I'd gone over it again, and it sat on a shelf in my bedroom for at least 2 or 3 years before it even saw the light of day, and a publisher read it, and that publisher was Warner Books. And my fantastic editor, she was the most amazing editor that I've ever come across. She's wonderful and incredible. Her name is Joanne Davis, and she really put that book together for me. And she and my agent at the time really made the book work, and they did all the necessary stuff, which was brilliant. Which brings me to another point. I'm actually going to be talking to a writers group. Now, I don't know if anybody and everybody is invited, but it's the Vermont Writers Group, and I'm going to be talking as, well, I'm claiming that I'm a writer. We all know I'm not, don't we? But I'm claiming that I'm a writer, and I do know quite a bit about the writing process. So if anybody out there is thinking of maybe writing a book, or you're in a writers group or so on, I'm starting on a new career, which is talking to people about writing and about publishing and all the pitfalls and all the stuff that we should or shouldn't do and so on and so forth, literally from my own experience, minimal experience. Right, I'm talking away here. Do we have anybody, any questions, any comments, anything going on, Michelle, here? I'm going to shut up now.
We do.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to
Dean
shut
is
up.
on with us. Hopefully he saw his message yesterday.
Who, Dean? Happy
Yeah.
birthday to you yesterday. Happy birthday to you yesterday. We did say happy birthday to you yesterday, Dean, but you weren't around. But that's all right. We do hope you had a fantastic and a wonderful, wonderful birthday.
Jen is on and she says, hello, gorgeous. Good morning.
Hi, Jen. Thank you. I like the gorgeous bit. That's so nice of you to say. It gets harder and harder to stay gorgeous. You know that. I get up in the morning, I sort of peer through the mirror and I think, can I see to put my makeup on this morning? The good news is that I only ever do my eyes. All of this is the natural thing. There's nothing on there at all. Oh, lipstick and eyes is what I do, and that's it. So, all right, keep it coming, Michelle.
Leah said that she can't wait to hear the rest of the story about Grey Eagle next time. Big hug.
Hi, darling. Which story about Grey Eagle? Oh, am I telling a story about Grey Eagle on Saturday then? Maybe I will. You never know.
I don't know. I have a list, and I send you the list, and you pick which one you want to do.
Yeah. Well, all right. I have a feeling we might be talking about my trip to Arizona and
the Superstition Mountains.
And to the Superstition Mountains. Yes, I might be talking about that, but I might change my mind at the last minute. Look, it's story time, and it's live. So, and it's my story. Anyways, I'm allowed to change my mind at the last minute. All right, keep going, Michelle.
Okay, so Cheryl says, does my mom know why I was not able to be there when she passed? Sometimes I think I was horrible, but I just loved her too much.
Oh, Cheryl, you really mustn't worry about that. You know, there are so many people in the same situation as you. They either just can't face it, it's too emotional, it's just too hard for them. And just let me explain something to you. When we're all thinking, how hard it is for us, you've heard the stories. I was with my mother and my father. I sat by their side for like forever and ever. And the second I went to get myself a cup of coffee, or the second I went to the bathroom, when I came back, they'd gone. And very often it's the case, Cheryl, that our loved ones also find it way too hard to leave us, and the struggle that they have, they know they're going, but the struggle they have, because they love us so much, and they being able to let go emotionally is so hard for them. And sometimes it is so much easier for them when we are out of the way. It's so much easier for them then to leave us, because they don't have to deal with their own experience plus the pull and the emotional stress and trauma of having to finally leave you behind. I absolutely, Cheryl, think that your mother knows exactly why, and I'm just about to go on with this, but Gregor's put his hand on my shoulder, so I can tell you absolutely. Fear of losing someone and fear of letting go. She's perfectly fine with it, my sweetheart. Don't you worry one more second. She's with you and she loves you. Don't you fret that she's at all upset. She totally understands. And anyway, you should know this about your mummy. All right, let's go to the next one.
All right, the next one was from Maggie.
Good morning, Maggie.
She says, Rosemary, I've been feeling an anticipation feeling the last couple days.
Ooh.
Is someone trying to tell me something?
You have to wait and see. Maybe something exciting is going to happen to you. Maybe you're going to who knows what's going to happen, but if you have a feeling of anticipation, you and I both very well know, pay attention to it. Just be aware, just be on your toes a little bit. Just wait and allow it to unfold. I'm not allowed to tell you any more than that, Maggie. That's the end of that. Keep going, Michelle.
Leah said that she saw a little bit of Soldier Blue, and it was really breathtaking. We talked about that last week.
Tough, though. Very, very, very hard. I'm not sure which version you got, Leah, because the original version was, so it was very traumatic, actually. I remember going to the movies with friends, and I couldn't, my eyes were riveted to the screen. I'm not sure it's such a great movie to watch on the big screen because you do see all the blood and gore, and it was in fact the uncut version. By the time I saw it, it was a few years old. It had been around in America and been around in the States, and then it finally eventually made its way to England. That movie, I think, I love movies. I watch movies all the time. I can get really involved in a movie, and there are movies which really do have an impact. But I have to tell you that Soldier Blue is one of those movies that impacted me in a way that I shall never forget it. I remember, it's years and years ago. I was in my sort of early 20s at the time. Samantha was just a baby, and it was so impactful. And I remember sitting in the cinema, I couldn't speak or move. At the end of the movie, if you've only watched a little bit of it, at the end of this movie, it gives, how the movies sometimes give a blurb about what it was and how it was, and I was so shocked because they mention a particular colonel or whatever he was in the American, fighting the natives. And I can't remember his name, but this whole thing was documented. It was documented not only by the prisoners they put in chains, but this guy used to sit in a chair and watch while his soldiers raped, mutilated, murdered, and he just would sit there and watch the whole thing going on and never stop them. And the fewer prisoners they took, the better for him, but they did take some. And the whole thing was documented, and the worst of it is it was true. Every little bit of it happened, and it was true. And the shame that it must have brought on the American people, it must have been dreadful. But it took such a long time, didn't it, for history to sort of right itself and for people to actually realize that what they had allowed to happen did happen. It's a little bit like Hitler. I'm sure that that there are many German people who were alive in the time of Hitler who just can't believe that they were part of it and allowed it to happen by not speaking up. Although the problem is that if you speak up, then you're dead, aren't you? So it's sort of a question of survival. I don't think any of us should take guilt or blame onto us for things that other people did, but it certainly should make us stop and think, you know, we really, really shouldn't allow this to happen again. But I think we say that in every war, and every war that's ever been fought, and every war that is still being fought in some countries. Like, it's getting a bit depressing here. Let's move on, Michelle.
Mary is on,
Morning, Mary.
and she said that her and the kids had some very negative experiences last night, including horror dreams. Do you or Grey Eagle know what it could be?
Well, without you telling me more about it, really, no, I don't. Although, please, 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 all of you out there who have these experiences and are nervous or worried about these experiences, there is a way to help yourselves, and it's a very simple thing. And this is what I do. So I put my right hand over my heart. I put my left hand over my right hand. This is when I'm in bed. If I'm expecting maybe, you know, something unpleasant, or if I've been dealing with or thinking of something unpleasant, what I try to do is I put my, as I've said, my right hand over my heart, my left hand over my right hand, and I say a prayer of protection. And I ask God, and I ask the universe, and I ask my angels to please protect me and to keep me safe throughout the night, and to keep away all the negative energies and the negative influences. And it's really that simple. So I'm going to suggest that you do that, because, and you know, for those of us who might forget, or we wake up, you know, in the middle of one of those horrible nightmares, breathe, take a breath, breathe. If you've been watching my healing show on a Wednesday afternoon, give yourself healing. But again, do that right hand over the heart, left hand over the right hand. Say your prayer of protection. Ask for protection from God, from that universal God force, and from your angels who are around you, and ask them to get rid of any negative issue and any negative thoughts, and to protect you through the night. And that's what will happen, and it will calm you down, and it will literally, those things will literally disappear. Okay, so, you know, please, all of you who are out there, don't be afraid. You know, these are moments when we have to not only have faith, but we have to live our faith. So we have to let go, and we have to let God. Okay, next question, Michelle.
The next one we have is from Lindsay.
Morning, Lindsay.
Excuse me. She says, hi, Rosemary.
Hi.
My mom committed suicide 2 years ago. Can you tell me if she's okay? My brother and I would like to know.
Lindsay, I can be really glib and say the words that you want to hear, and you'll feel much better about it. I can say, yes, she's fine. But the truth of the matter is, without talking to Grey Eagle, or without sort of knowing, being able to connect with your mom, and this is, you know, it's hard to do that in a show like this in a second or two. But apparently I am going to do that. I'm going to do something anyway. What am I supposed to do? I'm asking Grey Eagle, what am I supposed to do? What would he like me to say to you? And out of the corner of my eye here, I'm glimpsing two people. So one I'm hoping, I believe, is your mother, maybe. I'm hearing, also, I'm going to probably confuse you completely. I'm hearing the name of what sounds like Len or Lenny, and there's a gentleman who's come with your mother who's sort of pushing her just a little bit. We don't have a lot of time to do this. I could spend an hour talking to you. But I do feel that I can tell you, because I'm catching brief glimpses of something going on here. I can tell you that she's fine. I can tell you that she had an awful lot of issues prior to her passing, emotional as well as physical, but a lot of emotional stuff going on. And we really don't I wish I had more time with you, Lindsay, but I feel that she's with you, that she's getting stronger, is the message that I'm hearing, that she's getting stronger. So you might want to consider having a consultation, not necessarily with me, but with someone who can put you in touch with her. Um, just be careful who you go to. Just be careful, you know, make sure the person is real. But you know, maybe you want to consider, that route, because I do feel that there is a need here. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this on this show. I do feel there's a need here for her to let you guys know that she's fine. That's all we can do for now. I don't know if that's helpful at all. Michelle.
All right, we have Andrea on.
Good morning, Andrea.
And she says, hello to you all. It's been a long time since I last checked in. Rosemary, you're looking very well.
Thank you. It's the sun that does it.
I like the pink shirt.
I like do. Pink. Yeah. This is so old, this thing.
I love it.
So old. Do you really?
I do.
There's never a day that I wear it that I can be out shopping and somebody will say, I really love your top. And it's so old. And every time I look at it, I think, I really need to chuck that out. And it's so light and comfortable. It's one of those pleaty things, that expand and contract with you. Anyway. Yeah. Next. It should have a pink flower on it, but that's gone by the wayside a long time ago. Keep going.
Maggie says that you should look for The Giggle Snitcher by Stephen Cosgrove. The drawings are wonderful and the stories are great for children.
The Giggle Snitcher. Ooh.
Do you want me to write that down and send it to you?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. There's a series of books that Reese has read, and it's called The Mini Monsters. And of course, I've forgotten who it's by now, but it's really a boys thing more than a girls thing, because they talk about really nasty, gooey, horrible stuff, and boys love that stuff, and he giggles all the way through it. It's called The Mini Monsters. It's a British series of books. Thank you for that. The Giggle Snitchers.
Lita wants to know if Katuro is eating better now.
Well, funny. Who is this? Rita?
Leah.
Leah. Oh, Leah. Thank you for asking. Sort of on and off. He sort of turned his nose up this morning at the chicken, but then I took a piece out of his bowl and held it to him, and he went to eat it, and I thought, no, we're not going to do that. So I put it back in the bowl, and then he went and ate it all. So that was good. But he's sort of, I think his sense of smell is going, and he's kind of losing a little bit of interest in things. That's what the problem is. Thank you for asking. Yeah.
Dean says, ha, thank you for the birthday wishes. Sorry I missed it yesterday.
That's all right. As long as you had a great day, that's all that matters. Yeah.
Andrea says, the book club sounds interesting. I've been writing a book for nearly 20 years, just can't get around to finishing it up. Might do it before lockdown ends.
Before what?
Our lockdown ends, our quarantine ends.
Yeah, here you go. Come on, you've got all the time. It's very, very hard when you're writing a book. People think it's a really easy thing to do, but it's not, because what you need more than anything else, you'll never be good at anything, no matter what it is, if you don't have discipline. And writing a book requires you to sort of, whether or not you've got writer's block or whatever it is, you've got to have the discipline to at least sit down and attempt it. So, yeah.
Okay. Cheryl said, years ago, I was touring around in TM Civil War battlefield.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And I entered a building and had a horrible feeling of blood and people screaming.
Oh, yeah.
Do these energies stay on the battlefields?
Um, energy is an odd thing, because buildings can hold the energy of a thing, especially if that energy has been strong and either fierce or vicious or whatever it is. You can often walk into a building where there's been a murder. I remember being invited into a local prison. I'm not going to say where it was, but I remember being invited into a prison 2 or 3 years ago, and the warden in the prison sort of was taking me round, and he wanted me to, tell me what I felt and so on and so forth. And we came to one particular place, and it was it was really pretty powerful and quite sickening. And it sort of turned out it was sort of like the shower block, and and he took me into the shower, and there was blood and gore and everything. And it turned out somebody had actually slashed himself in the shower and I think he killed himself. But there was also another situation where he was sort of walking me through different parts of the prison. I'd really not saying anything to me, and then he said to me, I'd be interested, Rosemary, to see what you feel about, and he sort of pointed to a particular area, and there was a sort of like a fairly long corridor which was slightly sloped, and at the top of this sort of narrow corridor there were 3 doors. And I started to walk up the slope and suddenly had the most sickening feeling. And it turned out that there was a vicious killer behind one of those doors. So energy, it even, it doesn't necessarily have to be with a person. The energy can stay in a place and really taint a place sometimes. And this is why why the Native Americans actually will get out their sage and they'll have a cleansing. And the Chinese also do the same thing. They have the feng shui going on, and different cultures have different ways of actually cleansing a place, even if it's an open air. I mean, the Native Americans would, when they made camp in a certain place, they would then get out the sage and do all their rituals and so on in order to clean the place and to bring good and positive energy in. So yes, it's so very possible to feel energy, both negative and positive. I don't want you to get the impression that we only feel negative energy, but negative energy, I think it's because it takes us so by surprise when we're not expecting it, and it can be really powerful and really strong.
You ready for the next one?
Oh, I am.
All right.
Oh gosh, should I brace myself for this one?
You might want to a little bit.
Okay, all right, let's go.
It's from Maggie.
Yes, Maggie, go ahead.
She says, Rosemary, I have really good advice for the contest, but I need your help. I don't know what it was, except for that my daughter told me I was right. Can you ask her what the advice was and tell what I was right about?
No, no, I can't do that. That would be helping you. No, it would be cheating. I'm sorry, Maggie, it would be cheating. I bet if you sat in a quiet room, put on a little music, and sort of, took yourself back into a nice, special place there, you'll come up with it. That is very funny, though. Good try. Good try. I can't help. I can't. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah.
All right. The next one is from Carlos.
Carlos, good morning.
And he said, my grandmother died last year, and I have always had a strong connection with her. Why is the message of her or other family members? What is the message from her or other family members? I was hospitalized for 6 months last year also.
Well, this is a message from Grey Eagle, Carlos. The point is that you are much stronger than you think you are. Sometimes you get in your own way and you doubt yourself and you doubt your capabilities, but you have survived a great deal and you have come out of that situation stronger and better able to deal with your life. So the advice from Grey Eagle But also apparently also from your family and probably from your grandmother is get up and walk proud and walk tall, and don't allow fear to freeze you into inaction. You can do it, is what she's saying. You can do anything you set your mind to doing. Also, that she loves you very much. I hope that helps. Moving on. Yeah. Next one.
The next one is from Elissa.
Good morning, Ulissa.
And it says, is any of my loved ones here to deliver a message and some loving energy with me?
Well, I can send you lots of loving energy, my darling, and the spirit world, I'm sure, is sending you lots of loving energy. So that's as much as we can do this morning. You know, I would love to sit here and just give messages all the time to all of you, but first of all, that's not this kind of a show, and second, it takes, you know, I'm not a person who does a quick, you know, glib message. If I did, I'm sure you'd be thrilled, but I'm not going to, because I have to connect with the people in the spirit world. I have to connect with them. I have to tune into them. I have to make sure that I'm paying attention, that I'm listening clearly and precisely. Now, sometimes that can happen in a heartbeat, just like that, but there are times when it takes much longer, and I have to be very much aware of my responsibility, because what I say to people literally changes people's lives and touches people's hearts. So I'm not going to be the quick fire. I know that you can go online now, and there are lots of people out there who are saying, well, we can do, you know, we can give you messages online, and good for them, and if that's real and if it works, that's great for them, but it's just not the way that I work. I like to go much more in depth and make sure that I'm doing a good job, not just for all of you out there, but mostly and most importantly for those in the spirit world. Yeah, next.
The next one is from Jan.
Good morning, Jan.
And she says it's so nice to be here during rather than after the fact.
Oh, that's nice. She have a question? Do you have a question, Jan?
No, that was it. That was all she said.
Oh, that's it. Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here during. So.
The next one is from Bill.
Morning, Bill.
And Bill says, thank you for your continued positive messages. Your first NYC angel counts you and GE as one of my life's blessings.
New York City
angel.
Tell me that again.
It says your first New York City angel counts you and Gray Eagle as one of my life's blessings.
You've got to elaborate now. I'm curious, Bill. I'm really curious. Is there a story behind what you're saying to me? Could you please let me know? Write a little more. And thank you. Thank you for that. But I want to know more.
He said that you met in a surprise thunderstorm.
I remember. With an umbrella. Oh my golly. How
on
lovely.
6th Avenue.
How lovely. Oh, how nice of you to connect with me. That is so lovely. You know, I come to New York fairly often. We really need to get together again. Yes, I remember you very, very clearly. And I did say, when you were saying this, I did have this sort of think, now where is this? Where did I meet with him? And you were and are my first New York angel. Yeah, he had an umbrella and I was getting soaked, I do believe. Something like that. It was so long ago. How lovely, lovely, lovely for you to connect with me. That's so nice. Write to me. Keep in touch with me. All right, Michelle.
Wendy said, did someone say book club? Because that would be lovely.
Well, I know that my class have been included, but Chris, for all of my students who want to know more or would like to join in or participate, you need to connect with Chris. Because she knows much more about it than I do, and I do believe that my little talk is going to be on the 23rd of May, so that's next weekend, I think, isn't it? If my birthday's the 19th, it's Tuesday.
It's Saturday.
It's next Saturday then. So there we have it. Wendy, you're invited. You need to talk to Chris about it. She'll let you all know. All right, keep going.
Jen asks, do you still go and visit hospitals? Do you feel heaps of spirits in the buildings that want to talk to you?
I do still go into hospitals if I'm invited in. And of course, when my own daughter's been in hospital, which she has been a lot of the time, you know, it's not possible to just go in and deal with one person. As I'm walking through hospitals, sometimes I'll pop into somebody's room. I'll feel a need for someone, a total stranger that I don't even know, and they don't even know me, and I feel that need to just give them a little help. That's another story. Could you please write this down? This is another story coming, is when I went to see a patient of mine, and there was a lady across the hall who was in absolute hysterics because she thought her husband was dying. So just if you can make a note of that. See how these things trigger things. But yes, I'll sometimes, which I did in the particular story that I will tell you at some point in story time, I will pop in and just hold a person's hand, and they don't even necessarily know that I'm there, but I'll just pop in and I'll sit with them and I'll hold their hand and you know, send them a little bit of my good energy. And you know, sort of, it's the equivalent of just going in, holding someone's hand and asking God to help and guide them. And in this particular case, that's what I did. And I dealt with two hysterical females at the same time. Yes, I'm not sure. Yes, I think the answer was yes, but I'm not sure. Keep going, Michelle.
Cheryl said book discussions would be lovely. That she just read one called The Shack, which I've read. It's an interesting story.
I have read The Shack. I found it a little bit difficult to get my head around it.
Yeah.
I know that it has had many accolades. It's just written in a style that is sometimes difficult for me. But I know with so many books, you know, I always try to give books at least 2 or 3 chapters, because sometimes they start off really badly, but they end up improving. That there have been times when people have recommended books to me, and this is not The Shack, but there are times when people have recommended books to me, and I have struggled through maybe a third of the book before it's not for me. So, you know, there are books that are written that are classics, that are fantastic, that are wonderful, but, you know, I always feel, you know, it's like, you know, we like different kinds of food, like different kinds of movies, we like different kinds of books. And, you know, so yes, I have read The Shack. I have read it, yes. I think it came out as a movie, to be honest with you, as well. Keep going, Michelle.
Jen says, yes, love to hear those on Storytime, please. Your story that you were talking about.
Okay.
Bill said exactly, and he shall write to you, that you were with his sister and him at one point.
Yes, I know, I remember. It's so lovely to hear. It's like a blast from the past. But yes, we were in a thunderstorm and we met, and he was my angel, keeping me dry. Oh my goodness, Bill. All right, keep going. Let's keep going.
Carlos said, I'm trying to learn about energy healing. Since I read The Eagle and the Rose, I feel more.
Oh, that's fantastic. And you can always join us on a Wednesday afternoon, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because we have or you can go to YouTube and check them out, Healing Hands Around the World, and I talk about energy and I show you how to use it and to connect with your own healing energy and so on and so forth. So you can always do that too, Carlos. Yep.
We're all caught up. The last comment that came in is Italian.
Oh no. And we can't read it, can we?
And I believe it says something along the lines of, hello, I'm Italian and I don't speak English.
And there is Google Translate. Please, if you do not speak English, please use Google Translate before you send your message to us. And that way we'll be able to read it. And even if it's in broken English, we don't mind. We'll figure it out because we love to have you join us. I'm going to, while you start to sort of think up more questions, because you do know the rule is that if you're not participating, I'm going to quit. But let me tell you about our competition. Maggie mentioned it earlier on. I'm sorry, Maggie, but I can't help you. But here is the competition. It is in two parts. The first part is which. No, wait a minute. The first part is what is the best advice that someone has ever given to you. What was it, why, and so on. And then the second part of the competition is what was the best advice that you think you gave to somebody else? What was it, and did they take it, and so on and so forth. So we want to know a little bit about that. Please do not write reams and reams, because we will not read it. If you send it too long, I'm just going to chuck it in the bin, because we don't have the time. I'm going to be the only one judging, so I'm going to be reading every entry that comes in. You can send in as many entries as you like, and it's my birthday competition, so I'm just going to be giving prizes away. It could be a book, a CD, it could be 2 or 3 books, could be a whole set of guided meditation. You never know. It's what I'm going to feel like on the day. It's what I can reach for, and so on and so forth. So please feel free to send in as many entries as you possibly can. We did forget to say at the beginning of this, you do have to be a subscriber on YouTube in order to enter. So please subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. At the end of the show or the beginning of the show or whatever it is, somewhere during the show there'll be a little button, and all you have to do is click on the subscribe button. It does not cost you a thing, and it doesn't mean that you're going to be inundated with all sorts of advertising and so on and so forth, having other people connect with you. So please subscribe, and please share. So you do have to be a subscriber, I'm sorry, in order to, so just race to the subscribe button and click it on there, and we'll have fun with that. Your entries do need to be in by the 19th of May, which is my birthday, and we're going to have so that means that even though my birthday is on the 19th, which is a Tuesday, we'll be celebrating my birthday on the Thursday when we do this show. We may even have a cake. You just don't know what's going to happen here, but we'll have a little celebration birthday, because I can't go out anywhere. Nobody can go out anywhere, so we've got to celebrate a little bit just doing this, right, Michelle?
Of course.
So birthdays come just once a year. Do we have any more questions? Any more comments?
I just want to give a little shout out to Carlos, because he put it in I believe Italian, for her to comment in Italian so that we can help.
Oh,
or comment with Google
Carlos,
Translate.
that's so nice of you. Thank you so much. Yeah, anybody out there who can see that if someone sends in a comment or a question or something, and it's in a language that you speak but I don't speak, please let them know that to use Google Translate. And that would be really helpful to us, and it also allows everybody to be able to join in. So
Maggie said that she was listening to A Journey to Healing one early morning when she woke up and couldn't go back to sleep, and found that she was twitching like her muscles were releasing, and she would like to know if that was normal.
Yes. Different people have different reactions. The meditation is called A Journey Towards Healing, so it literally will take you on a journey. The rule, and it does say so, I do believe, on the back of the thing. It might not say it actually. Does it say it when you get it from iTunes? There is a rule, no machinery, and I do advise people to, if you, if you're sick and you're in bed, it's great, and it can sort of put you to sleep easily. But always be mindful. I don't want you to go floating off into the netherworld and get caught up in stuff. So do be careful. I would advise not playing it before you go to bed at night, because you really need to be paying attention when you're listening to it. A guided meditation is just that. It has a beginning and a middle, and it has an end. And unless you're sick or so on, then I'm going to suggest that you make sure that at the end of it you're nicely relaxed, but you're awake, and so you're understanding what's going on. When we're having healing and when we're using that healing energy, it literally can, well, it does affect the whole of our body. And as your muscles are relaxing, and especially if you're not a person, Maggie, who is used to relaxing or is used to sort of giving up the control thing, it can certainly, cause sort of those, how when you're really, really tired and your leg starts to twitch, it can cause those little bits of twitchy stuff. But persevere, because that will stop. All right, next, anything else going on?
Vera is on.
Morning, Vera.
And she said the battlefields in Gettysburg, where so many men died also so many animals. Are they still fighting the war again and again, over and over? What do you think of this place?
I've actually been to Gettysburg just one time. It's pretty much like when you're going into the concentration camps. You go into Auschwitz. In Auschwitz, that nothing grows. That nothing. The energy there is just, it's almost as if it's a black hole of energy. And I think that sometimes the terror and the brutality and the evil, especially when we're talking about the concentration camps, not so much at Gettysburg, not so much on the battlefields, but when you go into places that have tortured, maimed, where evil has truly existed, then you can see it and you can feel it. I mean, the energy is still there. As far as the battlefields are concerned, when I was at Gettysburg, I don't believe for 1 second that those souls are still fighting that battle. Absolutely not. But if you do get impressions of it, what you're getting impressions of is you're getting impressions of the energy. You're connecting in, you're tuning in to the pain and the trauma and the awfulness of war itself. So I also don't feel, just to be clear, when we go into the concentration camps, I don't think there's anybody there. There is not a soul who has not been saved from those literally god-awful places. The evil that is there does sort of, it still permeates. It permeates the walls, it permeates the land, it permeates the whole of the energy around that place. And it is true that nothing grows in these places, not a weed, not a blade of grass, nothing, because there is no good life and no good energy to nurture and to produce new things. But it's very easy. We can, all of us, do it, and I think so many of us have had the experience of feeling something that was perhaps not quite right, or a negative energy that we perhaps don't understand. But what we're tuning into here is the energy of the past, which still clings to the place, and often just still clings to the place. Next, Michelle.
The next one was from Jan, and she said, what's the name of your most recent book, and do I email you for it? So I responded that it's A Walk in the Clouds, and if she emails us, we'll give her the link.
Yes, the new book is A Walk in the Clouds, and you can just email us and we'll send you a copy. We have a few here, so email me, rosemary@rosemaryantair.com. I think you'll really like it. I really like it. Lots of stories in there which are always good to read, and I'm sure I'll be telling a few of them as and when. I also, if you could write down, because we did have uh, Thomas' mother last
We've
week
got that written down.
listening to us. Do we have it written down? I want to tell the story of the Earth Angel and how Earth Angels exist. So that's another story for a Saturday morning. At this rate, we could we could have story time every day of the week, and I never need to write another book ever. We could just tell the stories. All right, keep going, Michelle. Anything else?
Okay, Maggie said, LOL, Rosemary, how do you know me? I'm told to relax by physical therapists or in massages, and I've always had to be alert and could never relax with the ex.
What do you mean, how do I know you?
I can't remember when I've relaxed.
Did she just ask me, how do I know you? Of course I know you, Maggie. When I'm talking to a person, when they're talking to me, we're connecting, and the energy that is out there, aside from which I've got Grey Eagle whispering in my ear that you're a bit of a control freak when it comes to things like that. I put my hand up because I hate it. I refuse to be massaged. I have a really good friend who's the tip-top masseuse, and I won't let her massage me. No, thanks. So I do relate, but just what's happening is when you're sort of going through this thing with the guided meditation, is that you're fighting it. You're just fighting. You don't want to let go. What you have to do, Maggie, is just to trust me and let go and let God, as I've said. Just let it flow, my darling. Let it flow. Next question or comment. I can see them popping up on the screen.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
So, I have to get back to the name. I think it's Scurry or Scurry.
Okay. We're not quite sure, my lovely, what your name is, but please forgive us if we pronounce it wrongly, but go ahead, Michelle, anyway.
Well, Carlos translated for us.
Oh, good. Oh, hey, Carlos. We need you. Good job.
Scurry loves you and understands what you are saying and would like to know if you have a message for this Italian boy or girl, because I don't know what it is.
No. Thank you, though, but thank you. Not right now. Maybe another time, but no, not right now. But thank you. And thank you, Carlos, for being the interpreter. Maybe you should make a note every Thursday, Wednesday afternoon, Thursday, Saturday. You can be our interpreter. Right. Who's next?
Okay, so this next one is Pitrufa.
Okay.
It's Pitrufa.
Pitrufa, we don't know, but anyway, it doesn't matter. We're happy to have you here.
Hello, I would like to know if you could know what type of creature I saw when I was a child. I saw two eyes that were light hovering at the end of the hall of the house.
No, not without going into it. And unfortunately, we don't have time here today. So again, I'll say I'm not. I take my responsibilities of what I do very seriously. So I'm not going to give you a glib answer just to make you feel better. It could have been anything or anyone, my darling. And when we're children, we tend not always to see things clearly. So it could be anything, but whatever it was, you're obviously safe and you're obviously fine. So whatever it was not harmful to you. Keep going, Michelle.
Jan said, great, thank you. Maggie said, LMAO.
LMAO, what's that?
Laughing my hiney off.
Oh, really? Okay, then.
Only using a different word we're not allowed to use on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
We do have Elizabeth from Italy, and she says, rarely I dream my grandmother, only in a bad moment of my life. Can I ask if she's well?
I'm asking Grey Eagle this because obviously your grandmother comes to you in times when she feels that you need her the most and you need her support and you need her help. But I'm told by Grey Eagle that she's fine, but she's, uh, we would ask the same of you, wouldn't we? Are you fine? And the answer is you could be better. So trust your grandmother will help you and will guide you, and that things will get better.
All right. Rufus said that she cried when she saw it and that her brother couldn't see them and that they moved through the house and that she dreamed of it later on, and so she was just wondering if it was an angel or
It could be. It could be an angel. It could be your loved ones in the spirit world. I can tell you that whatever this was very Gregor tells me very protective, or whoever this was very protective of you. So not a bad thing at all, my darling.
And then
then
there's Maggie
again.
And Maggie says, Grey Eagle, shh, you're not supposed to tell.
Oh, well, you asked the question, Maggie, so we're just doing our job and we're answering. It doesn't mean you're going to like the answer to your question.
Carlos is on, and he said, 3 weeks ago, I had a nightmare with demons. I wake up and clean my room and back to sleep. I heard voices. I had fear for minutes, and I thought I became crazy.
Sounds like you need a little bit of sage, cleansing or something. But when you say demons, Carlos, I'm not sure that demons is the right word. It well could be your loved ones in the spirit world. Things. We have these experiences and they can be quite scary, even when they are good and positive forces that come to us. When we're not expecting it, it can be really quite scary and we can get completely the wrong idea of what's going on. Nevertheless, I'll put you on our healing list, and we're going to send you some good energy and some good vibes which will stop any and all negativity from surrounding you. How about that? All right.
Yeah. The last one that we have is from, I'm making a note while I'm reading this, is from Vera, and she said some paranormal investigators had contact and spoke to some of the soldiers at Gettysburg, and they can also hear like the cannons go off, and it's very high and many times.
Okay, well, I've had experience of paranormal investigators my own self, because there's a museum, a very important museum here locally, and I was invited to go with a group of paranormal investigators to work in there, and I'd been there many times with a friend of mine who used to be the curator of the museum, and I'd been in there many times and seen many things and spoken to many people in there, and had my own experiences. Paranormal investigators, they use all these machines and so on and so forth. I am an extremely skeptical person. I'm more skeptical than anybody you will know. So if somebody's sort of sitting there with a machine and they say they're hearing voices, or they're doing this, that and the other, I either want to be there and know exactly what I'm doing, or I want somebody that I know and trust to be there to see what they're doing, because we know absolutely that film can be doctored, photos can be doctored. We know absolutely that we can make something sound just the way we want it to sound. I am not saying by any means that all paranormal investigators are fakes or make it up. Sometimes their own imaginations can get in the way. What I'm saying is, please don't be afraid. A good paranormal investigator will say to you, this doesn't mean this is real. And I am going to say to you, if I were there, it doesn't mean that it's real. It doesn't mean that it's right. So do please be careful and don't be afraid to be skeptical. As I said, I am the most skeptical person that you've ever come across. I have heard the drums. I have heard the drums in the Superstition Mountains, as did a friend of mine when we were there. I have heard the voices of the spirit world come from faraway places, places you would not expect. I have been to places that have had terrible things happen, and I have talked to people who were there at the time to explain what was going on. So I know that this can happen, and I know that these things are real, but unless I really know a person, am I going to believe what they say is true without any real evidence? Not on your life. So, be careful. Just be critical, be careful. And as I always tell people about myself, just because I say it doesn't mean it's real, does it? Doesn't mean it's true. So please, all of you out there, don't be afraid to be critical. Put your critical hat on. Be critical, but be open-minded if you can be. Be skeptical is what I'm saying, not be critical. Be skeptical and always question. I know we have a couple more then, and we're going to close. Michelle, anything else?
This is from Kim.
Good morning, Kim.
And she said, my brother Ray died in his sleep December 13th of 2018. She wants to know if he's all right and does he hear her when she talks to him.
I would normally, I've said this how many times now on this show this morning, would normally not give a glib answer. But when you were recounting that question, I immediately heard Gregor say, absolutely, he's perfectly fine. And of course, why are you asking me what you already know? Because I suspect you already know the answer. Of course he hears you. But what Gregor is advising you to do, if you can, my darling, is stop talking at him. We want to say so much to our loved ones in the spirit world, don't we? We tend to talk at them. We talk and talk and talk, and we forget to take a breath, and we forget to listen. So please try and listen to him also. Is that it, Michelle?
We have one last comment, which is kind of a sad comment for me.
Oh.
And it's from Maggie.
Yes, Maggie.
It says, Rosemary and Michelle, I've loved being a part of this last few weeks, and I will miss this as I'm going back to regular hours and listening on my way home from my long drive home and participate in emails.
Well, we still love you, Maggie. When all of this pandemic stuff started, there were so many people out there saying, I'm bored, I'm fed up, oh gosh,
I never got there.
Fed up of,
I got fed up, but I never got bored.
I'm fed up of being at home all day, we can't go anywhere, we can't do anything. And it's so funny because now people are saying, oh, what? I have to go back to work? Really? I have to get back into my life again? We shall miss you, Maggie, and I'm not sad at all because I know that you'll keep coming back, and we love you, love you, love you anyway. And we'll, just email us, and you can still participate because, believe it or not, everybody, you can watch this show whether you watch it live or whether you watch it recorded. And we love your questions, Maggie. We love having you with us. You're part of our family, so don't give up on us because we're not giving up on you. Just email us and we'll always include you whenever you want us to. All right, that's it for now. So, okay, later on today we will be doing our Everything is Attitude at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with my co-host Al Pisano. It's class night, so students get ready. And on Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Story Time. You can find us on Story Time on my main Facebook page, but don't worry, because if you can't make it or you can't listen to it or you're for whatever reason, Michelle will be downloading and uploading and whatever else she does, and it will be on YouTube on my Rosemary Altea channel for our Rosemary Altea Story Time. So don't forget, I'm going to mention again, the competition in two parts. First part, what is the best advice that was ever given to you? What was it? How did it work on? And second part, what is the best advice that anyone ever gave to you? And the same applies. You can enter as many times as you like. Please send your entries to rosemary@rosemaryantair.com, and you will the entries close on the 19th of May, which is my birthday, and then I'll be looking over them, and by the end of the month we'll let you know. There's going to be lots of prizes and all sorts of different things going on. And so next week at this time, we're having a birthday celebration. Belated it might be, 2 days later, but that's all right. So we'll be having a birthday celebration. So the only question you cannot ask me is, Rosemary, how old are you? Because here's what I shall say. I shall say I'm as old as my tongue and a little bit older than my teeth, and that's as much as you're getting from me. But if you read my books, you'll get it. It'll be easy for you to work it out. So next week's my birthday. So in the meantime, please join me if you can tonight. Everything is Attitude. I'd love it if you would join me. Story time. Who knows what we're going to be talking about? It might be a little bit spooky, or it might be a little bit, you never know. You just never know what I'm going to tell stories about. So we should join me at 11 a.m. on Saturday morning, Eastern Standard Time. And I'll tell you a story. My grandson loves my story times, by the way. In the meantime, until I see you all again, thank you for joining us this morning. And please have a very, very, very blessed rest of the day, everybody, and have a really very blessed weekend. Bye-bye. And I'm sorry about my finger. There we go. There.